How long did it take for you to feel comfortable in your costume making abilities?
Well, it depends of the costume because some of them, um, I know that I do a bit. I do most of the costume, but when I do buy one and I modify it, it might take me less than maybe what we'll say a year if I want it fully committed and then make it like perfect to or like comic book accurate. So I would say a year, but it would be half 6 months, 6 months to be comfortable, and then with all the techniques that every time I'm using, I'm getting better. So it's also the time frame is getting shorter. So 6 months, even sometimes even three if it's a rush for some convention. So, but the best time is a year to really process every materials, everything about what you need to do a good cosplay because sometimes you need to see that this costume is not for one use only. It needs to be used more than once because people doesn't go to convention every day. They don't travel as you were traveling to show your costume. So that is something that also think when I do costume, I have to think about like life longevity. So my costume might take a year, but can last 10 years. So this is how I see them.
I haven't heard many people say that. I feel that your mentality about the longevity of your cosplay and how accurate you want to be, how much time you're putting into it, that's lost on some cosplayers. Cosplayers that buy their cosplays solely, or cosplayers that are somewhat newer to the scene. I feel like they haven't necessarily gotten to the point where you are with your cosplay, which is very interesting because I haven't seen anyone else really do the Flash to the level that you do it, and I think it's incredible what you do.
Thanks.
I can tell you put the effort into it to get there.
Thanks. Thank you. Um, I know a lot of Flash cosplayer that they will put the efforts, but the thing is, I'm a fully committed to that character, and this is something that other Flash cosplayer might not be. And I don't blame them. It's just that they want to experience different characters that they are also connected to, and the Flash is one of them. But when they put the efforts in the Flash, I can see that it's they're putting what they feel it's right for them, and most of the time that's why I'm actually just disconnect from the whole batch of cosplayers. I don't do something that people want to do or they ask. I will dig into something that people doesn't see so I can really put the efforts in the details. But if I have to do the DC universe, for example, the Flash from the Justice League movie, everyone can have the same details. Everyone can just buy a suit and modify it. But if you take something different, your perspective of the suit is different, you will see the details and the involvement in that costume from another point of view. So I know there's a lot of good cosplayer, Flash cosplayer around the world, but my perspective is that suit is different, and the way I put it will be different also. So
How many Flash costumes have you done up until this point?
that question is what I think this is one of the questions that I have to get used to it because I know that I did a lot of costume, Flash costume, but every time people are asking me, I'm like, oh yeah, I have to count them because I always forget. But I did 10 version of the Flash, 10 versions.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. People are like, what, 10? We mostly see one or two on my social medias or in videos, but I do have 10 versions of the Flash, mostly from comic books, video games, and from action figures, because I think these are the one that people doesn't really focus on. When we focus on the TV series, on the movies, this is mainstream. So people are just like, oh yeah, I want to see that. I want to see that. But what about that great run in the comic book that the Flash had that armor or that black suit that made him so different or so like fearful.
Exactly.
So I'm actually that's why I'm like putting efforts in reading comics, but also finding the right costume to make it really different. So 10 different costumes, and most of them, some of them, I would say, can be alternate suits. So I can change the helmet, the cowl, and that makes two suit out of one. But they're all different. And even now, I'm like, do I stop at 10 or do I keep going? So because 10 is a lot for me, I would say cosplayers I know they have a lot like 20, 30, 50, but just the Flash 10 suit that I could just put on a row and then show them to the world, it's a lot. I think it's a lot.
I think it's great. You have a Flash from like so many different Earths, right? Like this is this universe, that universe. It's perfect.
Exactly. So if we go to into the Speed Force, because it's all connected to the multiverse, every version that you could see in a comic book, I see it. I got it. And this is fun because I read the comics and I know that this guy is in my back, in my trunk, in my box, or this one is on my shelf, or is getting ready to be created by me. So it's really cool.